Deadpool 2 is one of the biggest cinematic hits of 2018, and that's not surprising at all, as its release was highly anticipated by those who loved the first movie. That anticipation resulted in a lot of pre-release discussion, including several fan theories. In this video, we'll look at some Deadpool 2 fan theories that turned out to be completely wrong, and be warned, the video contains spoilers for Deadpool 2.
Let's just dive right in.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's the best way of keeping up to date with all of Screen Rant's great new videos.
I spent way too long in the phone booth.
Uncle Ben. In one of the short Deadpool teaser movies, the merc with a mouth hilariously failed to save an old man from being robbed and murdered in an alley. Wade Wilson saw the whole thing taking place, but in taking the time to change himself into his superhero costume in a phone booth, in the same way Superman used to be famous for doing,
Zip it, Stanley!
He ended up being too late. Wilson took exactly the amount of time you'd expect to change out of everyday clothes and into a tight-fitting, all-over bodysuit. And the old guy ended up bleeding to death as a result before he arrived on the scene to do anything about it. The circumstances of the mugging and murder were extremely similar to a certain Ben Parker's death in various Spider-Man stories, and made people theorize that it may have been Uncle Ben's death that they were seeing in the teaser. Director David Leitch even hinted there may have been something special about the teaser, which could have set up a Spider-Man-Deadpool crossover in the future. As it turned out, Deadpool 2 didn't revisit the event, which pretty much rules out the possibility it held any hidden importance.
Jinx?
Vanessa having superpowers. You might not be aware of the fact Marina Baccarin's character in the Deadpool movies, Wade Wilson's girlfriend Vanessa, actually has some pretty potent superpowers in the comic books.
Kiss me like you miss me, Red.
Her full name is Vanessa Carlyle, and her alter ego is the superhero known as Copycat. Copycat is a mutant with the very useful abilities of shape-shifting and power mimicry, courtesy of the fact that she can duplicate another being down to the cellular level, which enables her to steal the powers of other superhumans and indeed make herself look exactly like them. She's been a member of X-Force in the comics, and given the X-Force were advertised as being a major part of Deadpool 2,
Hit it!
fans theorized Baccarin's character would be revealed as having superpowers, and Copycat would be joining the live-action version of the team. Of course, X-Force ended up being nothing more than a punchline in the movie.
You're in.
And every member of the team not called Deadpool, Cable, or Domino was quickly killed off. By that point, Vanessa was already dead, without having revealed any superpowers. There is still time for her superpowers to manifest in the franchise, however.
Okay. Hey, ho.
As Deadpool went back in time to save her life in one of the movie's mid-credit scenes.
Rough childhood.
Rougher than yours.
Vanessa being deaf. There was actually another fan theory revolving around Vanessa in Deadpool 2, and it was one suggesting she might be the X-Men movie universe's version of Mistress Death. In the comic books, the Mad Titan Thanos isn't the only character to have been romantically involved with a dark cosmic entity over the years. The Merc with a Mouth has as well, so the theory made a little bit of sense. The insanity of Wade and Vanessa's movie relationship is somewhat similar to Mistress Death and Deadpool's in the comics, which gave the theory more credence. Fans were particularly hopeful of this one when it was confirmed that Death wouldn't appear in Avengers Infinity War, as a true cinematic version of the character would be very cool indeed. But it didn't end up happening, and the closest Vanessa came to being Mistress Death was, well, being killed. And having been brought back to life in one of the mid-credit scenes, it's unlikely she'll become the character going forward. Maybe Marvel are saving Mistress Death for after the potential Disney-Fox deal.
The banker, I think, was losing more sleep than I was.
Because at that point, they could depict the love triangle of Deadpool, Mistress Death, and Thanos on the big screen, and the crazy battle for love would be absolutely awesome to see in live action.
So dark. You sure you're not from the DC universe?
Deadpool being the villain. The build-up to Deadpool 2 saw countless comic book villains being theorized as the potential bad guy for the movie, but none were more interesting than the possibility of Deadpool himself being the villain. Okay, so nobody really thought that Ryan Reynolds' version of Deadpool that we all know and love would actually be the antagonist of his own movie, but there was certainly talk of the possibility of a warped Deadpool clone taking on that role.
Sweet baby Jesus.
In the comic books, Deadpool has actually had to go up against a horrible Frankenstein-esque version of himself, which was put together using severed body parts he'd lost in previous fights, and would probably undoubtedly have made for a unique and interesting movie. It would have totally been worth the admission fee for the dialogue alone. A fight between two talkative Deadpools would be amazing, but of course, Juggernaut ended up being the big bad for the movie's final fight in the end. Deadpool did go back in time to kill the terrible Barakapool version of the character in one of Deadpool 2's mid-credit scenes, but a quick scene hardly qualifies the awful mute character as being the movie's villain.
I can't tell you, but it does rhyme with pulverine.
Hugh Jackman making an appearance. No other character was referenced more than Wolverine in the first Deadpool movie. Deadpool barely stopped talking about him, and this inevitably led fans of the movie theorizing Hugh Jackman's version of the character would show up in the sequel. In a way, the theory did come true, but not exactly how fans expected, as Jackman merely appeared in a mid-credits scene, in footage we've already seen from 2009's X-Men Origins Wolverine.
It's memorable.
The Australian star didn't film anything new for the movie, but the footage was re-edited and did include raw footage shot for the new scene. It's just a shame Wolverine wasn't in the main body of the movie, because it would be cool as hell to see some interaction between the two characters, whether that be in a verbal back and forth or in a fight between the two characters who pretty much can't die thanks to their powerful regenerative healing factors.
Or is your hand really small?
Hopefully we'll get to see Reynolds and Jackman alongside each other properly as Deadpool and Wolverine at some point in the future. And if it's not in Deadpool 3, maybe it will be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe alongside a plethora of other iconic characters, assuming Disney completes their rumored purchase of Fox.
My name is Sinister. Mister Sinister.
Mister Sinister making an appearance. As we briefly touched upon earlier in the video, there were a number of theories about which character would be the main villain in Deadpool 2, but none were more prominent than the one suggesting it would be Mister Sinister. Fans have been expecting the powerful bad guy to appear in the X-Men movie franchise ever since he was referenced in the X-Men Apocalypse post-credits scene. That particular scene featured a very shady-looking character collecting blood samples and placing them in a briefcase with the words Essex Corp on them. And Nathaniel Essex was, of course, Sinister's name before he became an enemy of the X-Men. And when it was revealed that Cable would be in the movie, expectations regarding Sinister's appearance increased, as he was integral to Cable's creation in the comics. Mister Sinister didn't end up appearing in Deadpool 2. The main villain ended up being the aforementioned unstoppable Juggernaut, but he was referenced. Russell Collins, aka Fire Fist, lived in an orphanage called the Essex House for Mutant Rehabilitation.
I knew I was right.
But that was the only hint towards Essex in the whole movie, and it could have been foreshadowing his appearance in a future Deadpool outing.
Reach for the sky!
Stryfe making an appearance. Another very prevalent theory regarding the potential antagonist in Deadpool 2 involved Stryfe. It was the confirmation that Cable was in the movie that led to the Stryfe theory, because in the comics, Stryfe is actually an evil clone of the powerful time-traveling cyborg. Stryfe has strong connections to Apocalypse in the comics, and we all know he's appeared in the X-Men movie universe already, but he also has even stronger connections to Mister Sinister, as Sinister is obsessed with the concept of cloning, so the chances of seeing Stryfe on screen would be much larger with the presence of his would-be creator.
Very impressive.
Stryfe would have made for a very formidable villain, as he's basically Cable without morals or the need to hold back. He'd be fine with unleashing the full force of his super strength, telekinesis, telepathy, and weapons arsenal on the merc with a mouth. It would have also been very interesting to see Josh Brolin playing both roles in the movie, but alas, it wasn't to be. Given that Cable now exists in the franchise, and given that Mister Sinister is almost guaranteed to appear sooner rather than later, there's every chance Stryfe will make his live-action debut on the big screen in the near future.
These two.
Not okay.
X-23 making an appearance. Although many fans wanted Wolverine to appear in Deadpool 2, those who didn't think it would happen theorized in the absence of Hugh Jackman's character, his daughter would be the next best thing. Bringing the character otherwise known as Laura Kinney into Deadpool's world would undoubtedly have added some hilarity and some serious brutality, but it wouldn't have made much sense, given that Logan was set in 2029 and she shouldn't have even been born in the year Deadpool 2 was set. The weird timeline didn't stop the theorist from suggesting the character could make it into the movie, however. X-23 was last seen crossing the border into her ancestral homeland of Canada with her friends at the end of 2017's Logan movie.
Polite, we're reasonable, but we also will not be pushed around.
And it remains to be seen whether or not we'll be seeing more of Daphne Keene's brilliant version of the character in future X-Men films. Hopefully, this theory becomes fact before too long, however, as it would be great to see X-23 and Deadpool together, mainly because Deadpool finding out that she was Wolverine's daughter would make for some potentially hilarious dialogue, but also because it would be very funny to see him getting his ass kicked by a little girl.
Stay back or Justin Bieber dies!
Julian Dennison playing Hope Summers. One of the undoubted highlights of Deadpool 2 was the character of Russell Collins, aka Fire Fist, who was played by the hugely talented young New Zealand actor Julian Dennison. There were plenty of theories going around regarding which character he would be portraying, however, and one of them was a little bizarre. It was the theory that he would be portraying the powerful mutant Hope Summers. Hope is Cable's daughter in the comic books, but this theory suggested there'd be a gender swap for the live-action version of the character. Hope did appear in Deadpool 2 very briefly in a scene depicting her death, as it was her murder that Cable traveled back in time to prevent. But Dennison actually ended up playing her would-be killer, although he was ultimately prevented from becoming that person by Deadpool and his allies.
I need you to cause a distraction. We're all gonna die!
Bridging the gap to the MCU. The theory suggested there'd be a specific mentioning of the fact the movie was taking place in the same world as the Avengers movies, but there wasn't. In both Deadpool movies, there have been numerous hints and reasons to believe the two universes might be one and the same. Blind Al is a former friend of Captain America's in the comics, and the final battle of the first Deadpool movie took place on what looks like a S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier, for example. But alas, they remain separate. Deadpool 2 did make reference to characters like Thanos, the Hulk, Black Widow, Hawkeye, and the Winter Soldier, but it also referenced the DC universe and Top Gun.
I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
In the future, who knows what might happen? With Disney looking to buy Fox, there's every chance the two franchises could merge. For now, no such luck.
Where did you see this?
That's classified.
And that's the end of our video. Did you enjoy it? Did you have any theories about Deadpool 2 that didn't end up happening? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Screen Rant for more great videos just like this one. Bye for now.